Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. How much gold is there in the world? That is a question that we will explore. No one really knows the answer to that question. I mean, not a single person in the world knows, including the World Gold Council. However, there is a best estimate, and I believe pretty much the same can be true for silver as well. We have best estimates as to how much gold and silver there is in the world. We're going to take a look at the numbers from the most recent report for total above ground stocks. And this is data that really is only current up until the end of 2019. And I guess it's not been updated yet for reports that would come out this year for 2020. So the best estimates that we have for gold as to how much we know that is above ground here is what has been mined throughout history, of which about 2/3 of gold that we know of that is above ground has been mined since 1950. It's pretty amazing to think about how much progress has been made in mining of gold to bring it to the point where over 2/3 of the gold that I'm going to give you an estimate as to how much that is in the world right now above ground has been mined since 1950. And that amount is 197,576 tons of gold. That's the best estimate. And since gold is virtually indestructible, that means that almost all of this metal is still around in one form or another. That's right. If every single ounce of this gold were placed next to each other, the resulting cube of gold would only measure around 21 meters on each side. And why is that? Well, gold is extremely dense. I mean, you feel it in your hand. It really does have this substance to it. It just feels really solid and heavy and dense in the hands. And that is the beauty of gold. It is certainly fascinating, not only in its color and but it's also its density, and that is the amount. So you think about that: 21 meters on each side. So if you look at this and break this down, this 197,576 tons of above ground stocks, well, about 47% of that would be in jewelry. That's right, almost half of the amount of gold that's out there is in jewelry. So your wedding rings, your decorative elements that are bracelets and other formats, and a lot of that gold is kind of debased to strengthen it. In other words, it's alloyed with other metals. So 14 karat gold is just a little bit more, half percentage of gold, but it is a very stronger metal than the 24 karat gold. So what about private investments, such as you see here in the form of coins and bars? Well, that amount is about 42,619 tons, which accounts for only 21.6% of the gold supply that is above ground. The jewelry is 92,947 tons. And then the official holdings from the world reserve banks around the world, around the planet, are 33,919 tons. That's only 17.2% of the official holdings from nations around the world. So that's something to think about. Overall, is that the amount of the world holds this gold in reserve banks. But you know what? Private individuals own well over almost 70% of the gold is held in private hands. Then there's other applications for gold, and that is a big category, such as used in industry and technology, the biomedical field, and other applications. A pretty big chunk of that gold makes up 14.2%. That's 28,090 tons. So that is quite interesting indeed to think about how much gold is above ground and how much in that dispersion between the different applications out there. Now, there is, geologists have estimated, what about the below ground reserves? In other words, how do you define that below ground reserve? I guess it's gold that they already know is ready to be mined out of the ground. It's 54,000 tons. 54,000 tons essentially ready to be mined out of the ground. Each year, global gold mining adds approximately 2,500 to 3,000 tons to the overall above ground stock of gold. While gold production has shown an upwards trend in recent years, this is likely to level off in the coming years. That is what is referred to as peak gold production. We're getting closer and closer to peak gold production. If not, we've already passed it. We may very well have. Think about it. If a lot of the accelerated gold mining and gold production has occurred since 1950, it only makes sense that we're getting closer and closer to that, if not surpassed it. Accurately estimating the amount of gold still within the ground, it's not an easy task. This estimate may change in response to several factors, such as the price of gold, which makes sense. And, if the price goes up or down, if it goes up, it's going to be more worthwhile to mine it. The cost of mining inputs, which affect whether gold deposits are economically viable to mine. That is certainly a factor, which includes fuel and what it takes, the quality gold out of the ground and processing it, the amount of gold per ton of dirt and ground. That's another factor that must come into play and to be considered in all of this. It is certainly something to take into account whenever you're mining for gold and to get more out of the ground to add to those above ground stockpiles. Then prior geological survey coverage and capabilities. You've heard me talk about that when I've covered some of these exploratory mining companies who certainly do bank on that prior knowledge from either previous mine owners or from sample tests that they've taken out of the ground in order to bring it to the investors in order to mine future gold deposits out of the ground. Mining companies will estimate how much gold remains at each mining project that they operate. And they can be split into two categories, which is what I talked about earlier, the reserve, which is gold that is economic to mine at the prevailing gold price, and resources is gold that will potentially be economic to mine, subject to further investigation or at a different price level. And that is the level of which that we talk about with some of these exploratory mining companies out there. But nonetheless, no one really knows, because gold, like silver, can be recycled, and it's hard to really account for every single ounce that has been that has been recirculated back into the economy before those numbers and those estimates, and they started keeping track of this gold. It's out there, some of these old classic pieces of gold that are in coin form or what have you, or any other old jewelry that we know of. How do they measure that? How do they keep track of it when it comes through? Maybe perhaps as some local coin shops get scrap gold and they take it in to get it refined, but certainly with this count, this old 1895 gold $20 gold piece, double eagle, is this one that could be added to those above ground stocks? Is this one that's missed out? Do they know about this coin? This is 0.96 ounces. That's and this is maybe missing from their count. I'm sure they can't capture all of them as far as to estimate. Now, so I think outliers such as that, maybe coins that have been in collections for years or circulated outside of their purview, certainly would be something that they may not necessarily be able to keep track of. But one thing's for sure, we here in this community, we know how much gold we've got in our stacks, and that's something that we will continue to assess, and I think it's a good time, even though a lot has been mined. Gold is still very rare, and it obviously is very valuable. It is the ultimate store of wealth and value, I think, that is out there in today. For commodities, I don't look at it as an investment. I don't believe we should, because it serves as the ultimate savings account to protect us from economic instability. And that is really one of the biggest blessings, I think, that we have to look forward to when we see things fall apart around us. We can be thankful that gold will be our rock, our steady force here in times of trouble. So there you go. So that is the estimate of how much gold there is in the world as of the end of 2019. And this report is coming out in 2021. And we'll see. So it'll be interesting to see how this number changes throughout time. Because if you look back throughout history, as to give you a representation of what it was some time ago, in 2012, that number was 166,500 tons, and here it's now 197,576 tons. We will cross over that 200,000 ton number soon. My guess is there's more gold out there than what is being reported, but that does not mean that it's not rare. This does not mean it's not precious, and it does not mean that it's not a store of value and the ultimate form of money out there, and has been for thousands of years. So I hope you found this video useful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And are you a gold accumulator? Is this something you thought about if you're a silver stacker? I think it's a wise consideration indeed to have a little bit of gold. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.